Breaking news, and this one is almost unbelievable.
Yeah, it's all about new customers at Bet365 because they get $150 in bonus bets when they bet $5, win or lose. And even better, bonus bets can be used on the spread, totals, and player props.
There you have it. Bet $5 to get $150 in bonus bets, win or lose. And see why it's never ordinary at Bet365. 21 plus only. Must be physically located in Ohio. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. TNCs apply. Available in app only.
This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Fiscally responsible, financial geniuses, monetary magicians. These are things people say about drivers who switch their car insurance to Progressive and save hundreds. Because Progressive offers discounts for paying in full, owning a home, and more. Plus, you can count on their great customer service to help you when you need it, so your dollar goes a long way. Visit Progressive.com to see if you could save on car insurance. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Potential savings will vary. Not available in all states or situations.
Back here on the Bossman show, friend of the show, Matt Langel, the Colgate Raiders champions getting out of the Patriot League once more. Coach, how you doing, man? How's life over there in New York, man?
A little snow on the ground this morning, but everything's great, JR. Everything's great.
I hear that, man. Well, ask his Coach Langel, man. 15-game winning streak to win this title, man. What was the key to it? What was that trigger for you guys to get on this run you're on right now, man?
We had a unique situation, at the beginning of conference play, not because of our circumstances, but a few of our opponents had some COVID issues. So those games got postponed. That led to a situation in February, in late January, and all through February where we had to play Saturday, Monday, Wednesday for 4 straight weeks. I was right. It ran into the NBA All-Star break, but I don't even think the NBA teams were playing that many games in the same window. So, fortunately for me, we've got an experienced group, a veteran group, and even some of our younger guys, they're really mature individuals. They're mature players, but they're mature people. So, we just kind of took it one day at a time. And I know that sounds so cliche, but it was literally play the game and then kind of focus on the next day's preparation. How we had to vary what we were doing, how our bodies were, like, whether the guys need a little bit more rest or whether they could get back after it on practice. And so, I didn't even realize that we had that long of a winning streak going, because it was just kind of like one step at a time. And we knew how meaningful, each of those Patriot League games are to try and secure home court for the playoffs. And for us, that's a huge part of getting back to where we were. We were able to play 3 games, in the postseason on our home court, and our crowd was outstanding, packed gym. The football guys were under the basket going crazy. And so that was a definite part of continuing this streak and keeping it going.
No doubt. And also, everybody's like target. Everybody wants to be Colgate. So every night you're getting everybody's best shot and still winning the game. So talk about the resolve of your team in that regard as well. Having those older guys knowing that every night you're the target in that league. Every night in that league, they always take you guys down.
Yeah, I think for me, that's probably the number one thing that this group had to go through. We scheduled a really challenging non-league schedule. I don't know how many of those teams will end up being, NCAA tournament teams, maybe not as many as we originally had thought. And those games were on the road, like at Harvard. We lost at Northeastern, at Vermont, who's having a terrific year. Played a few, ACC teams. Pitt played them close. NC State 1 possession game. So, those games, we lost to Niagara as our only home loss of the season. We lost at Cornell. Their season is still going. They're in the Ivy League tournament. But with those games, like a lot of teams, a few of those teams celebrated when they beat us. And so for our guys, they had to learn that, beating Colgate, like that didn't used to be a thing. And for them now, because of what they've been able to do over the last few years, that was a thing. And so I think that really prepared us for the mentality. We lost at Lehigh early in the conference play. It was our first Patriot League. And our guys I think they said, whoa, man, like everybody is coming after us every single game. It's like you said, you're going to get their best shot. So I think that kind of locked them in a little bit more and made them realize that they desperately need one another to win those games, that nobody was going to be able to do it on their own. And they, to their credit, they did that, and they stuck together and fought like crazy, and weathered a number of storms at home and on the road, and won some big games against some teams that played really, really well against us. So really proud of the group for being able to, when you got the target on your back, it's not that easy, and to be able to do what they did and win 16 league games is quite an accomplishment.
And what I observed from afar, Coach Langel, is this, man, you guys have a player-led culture and environment, because usually we had to be coaching guys in March. I could see the guys are coaching themselves to a degree. So I saw that player-led environment. So I'm like, you have a great group of guys who get it. It's not where you have to drop the hammer, even in timeout. They're doing it themselves before you get in the huddle. So I'm like, yeah, you got something brewing up there for real. But just experienced guards in your backcourt, man, they give you guys that good boost you need, man.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. They and I appreciate you saying that you can recognize that from watching the games. It is a player-led group. I think basketball is a player's game, and we try and take that approach as coaches. Football is a great game. Everybody loves it, but you get to huddle up your team and call a play every single offensive possession. And basketball is a player's game. And so we try and help teach our guys, how to read defenses, how to make good decisions. I think that's the number one thing that we value. And so we happen to have a group now that's been together for some time, and they know each other inside and out. They believe in one another, they trust one another, and they're not afraid to call one another out, when they're not living up to the responsibilities of what they all agreed to. And so when you combine those things together, you get a special group, and we feel really lucky to be able to coach them through this season and try and keep it going as long as we can.
Even against Navy, when they made that run against you, 16-0 run against you guys, I didn't see panic in your guys' eyes. I was like, we're good. Even though they was going to give you a run, Ed does a great job down at Naval Academy. He's like, these guys going to fight you. He going to fight back. They the Naval Academy, of course. They going to fight you back. But, hey, your guys stayed with it, man. It was no panic. I didn't see any panic in anybody's eyes. People still locked in and ready to go. We're good. And you all made that late run and to win it. But I like, that's what it's about. When they going to punch you, you just got to punch back.
Yeah, you weren't looking in my eyes, JR. There might have been some panic in my eyes, or at least I was trying to hold it in instead of let anybody see it. But no doubt about it, I think we did unravel a little bit. But again, this group, they've been through a lot of successes, but they've also had their challenges and their times where we failed and things haven't gone as we wanted. And I think that Navy certainly changed the scope of that game. They played small. They really got after it. They put their head down and drove to the basket. And that took us a little bit of time to adjust. But I think our guys relied on our experiences of we talk about, the game is like life. You have to figure it out. Like there's no playbook. There's no recipe that you can follow, like a dash of this and a teaspoon of that. Like you've got to figure it out as it's happening. And so I think, it took us a few minutes for sure, but and credit Navy for making that last ditch attempt, but our guys kind of weathered the storm and really made some defensive plays, and that led to some offense and some free throws to get us over the hump. I was super proud of them.
Yeah, you read my mind, Coach. Let's talk about defense. Killed them on all three in that tournament. Nobody got over 70. So you're playing defense on that side of the ball there. Talk about that part of the game, the effort you guys gave to keep three quality teams on 70 points in a pressure situation of a tournament.
Yeah, well, the first thing is the home court advantage. I think that I'd be wrong not to credit our fan base, the impact that student athletes and student body can have on a game in a small environment. I mean, I'm watching some of these conference tournament games on, neutral sites in front of half the great big venues, but they're like there's only half filled or a quarter filled, and our Colorado court was packed. And so I think that affects the opponent. Everybody wants to play in those great environments, but 5 years ago we played at Bucknell in that environment. It was way harder to play well there than it has been to play home. The second piece is, everybody credits our offense, our 3-point shooting, our efficiency numbers, our field goals assisted, our interior scoring percentage. But the biggest improvement that this group has made is the defense. I mean, we're right at the top. Navy had an outstanding defensive team, but our numbers and our play has been right there at the top. Keegan Records, led the league in block shots. Our defensive efficiency is pretty good, and so I think that has been what allowed us to get some separation in our conference this season, and put us in the position that we're in now.
Talk about your guards, Coach Jack, Nelly, and Tucker. Those three young men are, I'll tell you what, they're amazing to watch. Tell us a little bit about those young men for those who don't know about the way I do.
Yeah, thank you. Well, I'll start with Ferguson. I mean, he's in his 5th year. He has the record for most games played in the history of the institution. The COVID season allowed him to come back. He was 6th man for most of his career, gave us a spark off the bench, obviously a 3-point shooting weapon. But he's like one of those as cool as ice. Like, he doesn't get too emotional. He doesn't get too high or too low. Unfortunately, the coaches in our conference, didn't recognize the value that he has. He wasn't even 3rd team all conference. And then he went out and got, I think, 28-17 was MVP of the Patriot League tournament. Not because he had anything to prove, I think, just because that's who he is he's a really good player. And he's ready for moments like Indiana schoolboy, and he still looks like a schoolboy, even though he's in his 5th year of college. So really, really fortunate to have a guy like that. Nelly and Tucker are a little bit different. They were both acknowledged 1st team all league players and extremely deserving. All 3 guys have scored over 1,000 points. Nelly handles the ball. He's got a little bit more flair, fancy pass, an acrobatic finish. He shot it incredibly in our non-league schedule and leads us in scoring still. Tucker kind of maybe the straw that stirs the drink. I mean, he's all defensive team. He typically matches up to the best perimeter player. He's a big guard, so he's over. I think he's close to 500 rebounds on his career. He's just a really smart player. Can score inside. He's a good 3-point shooter. He takes good care of the ball. I think he leads us in minutes played just because I trust him so much. So yeah, really lucky to have a backcourt, not just as talented as they are, but as together. It's rare that you have 3 guys who all can score and play make but don't need the ball, are just as happy to run down and play off of the ball on some possessions and come off the screens and then have the ball in their hands and be the assist guy as well. So it's a great combination. I credit them for figuring out a way to play together. I want to coach them as long as we possibly can and keep this thing going.
I want to credit you as well, Coach, man. You're doing an amazing job up there, man. Small town New York, small school, been there going on a lot of years, man. But you actually built this thing from the ground up. And what you're doing is amazing. In the last 5 years, winning seasons, man, is amazing. The COVID year kind of cut that short for last year. So you got 20 wins last year as well. So I must just tell you, man, doing a great job up there, man. AD should do what your AD did up there. Let you build a program. You actually got to build this thing from scratch. And now look at the fruits of your labor. Now, all the winning you're doing now.
Thank you for that. I'd like to highlight your point about Colgate and their commitment to me and our program. I think in today's landscape, and I understand, that this is a major business, college basketball, and and that alumni and schools need programs to win. But we did start slowly. I think that I saw a stat in that Navy game, watching the tape, that this is 11 seasons ago, they won 0 games in the Patriot League, and we won 2 against them. And so a decade later, it does seem like a really long time, but in the grand scheme of things, it's not. We were both competing for the championship, and part of that is because our institutions were committed to the coaches and the process of improving and building something. And so, it was slow, and we got to a point where I think in year 4 or 5 we were knocking on the door, but we didn't break through. And then our veterans got graduated, and we got younger, and it took another evolution to kind of build it back up. So from the presidents that I've worked under to the athletic directors that I've worked under, again, I think it's a kudos to them for sticking with our process and letting us continue to do the work to build the program that we have now.
No doubt. Well, Coach, man, I appreciate our chance always, brother. And you have a great selection Sunday. I'll be working the Pacer Hawks game, but I'll be looking for you in the bracket. Now I'll be putting you ahead 2 spots. Hopefully I'll talk to you again the following week once you advance those 2 spots in my bracket, man.
All right, boss man, you stay well, and we'll be rooting for your Hawks.
Thank you so much, brother. You be safe, man.
All right, take care.
See you.
Bye-bye.
Breaking news, and this one is almost unbelievable.
Yeah, it's all about new customers at Bet365 because they get $150 in bonus bets when they bet $5, win or lose. And even better, bonus bets can be used on the spread, totals, and player props.
There you have it. Bet $5 to get $150 in bonus bets, win or lose. And see why it's never ordinary at Bet365. 21 plus only. Must be physically located in Ohio. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. T&Cs apply. Available in app only.